In a quiet village nestled between rolling hills, there lived a blacksmith named Eldrin. Known for his exceptional craftsmanship, Eldrin had a unique talent for turning raw metal into extraordinary creations. From horseshoes to elegant swords, the villagers admired his work. But there was more to him than met the eye. Eldrin was deeply connected to ancient lore, having learned the secrets passed down from his father and grandfather before him. His workshop was a sight to behold. The air shimmered with heat as glowing coals danced in the forge, their amber light illuminating the dark corners of the room. Everywhere you looked, tools hung on walls, hammers of different sizes, tongs that gleamed like silver, and an anvil that had seen countless creations come to life. The rich smell of iron mixed with the earthy scent of wood and smoke enveloped anyone who stepped inside. Eldrin worked diligently at his anvil, his muscular arms moving with practiced precision. His hands were calloused yet gentle as they shaped each piece of metal with care. But as much as Eldrin loved his craft, he often felt a weight on his shoulders, a sense that some of the objects he forged carried stories untold. Little did he know that soon he would face one such story that would challenge everything he believed in. One rainy afternoon, a mysterious traveler arrived at Eldrin's workshop, shrouded in a tattered cloak. In his hands, he held an object wrapped in dark cloth, something that gave off an unsettling energy. Upon unveiling it, Eldrin's breath caught in his throat. It was a sword unlike any other he had seen, forged from a dark metal that seemed to absorb the light around it. This was no ordinary blade. It was known as the cursed edge. According to legend, the sword had been crafted long ago by a sorcerer seeking power and revenge. It was said that those who wielded the blade would encounter only misfortune, bringing chaos upon themselves and their loved ones. Many had tried to use it for glory, but all had met dreadful ends instead. The traveler explained how he found the blade buried deep in an abandoned battlefield, surrounded by remnants of its tragic past. Desperate for help, he pleaded with Eldrin to repair the weapon and lift its curse. He spoke of how it had found its way into his life, bringing calamity wherever he went. As Eldrin listened closely, curiosity mingled with unease. He had heard tales of cursed objects before but never imagined he would hold one in his own hands. The weight of destiny seemed to linger heavily in the air as Eldrin examined the cursed blade before him. In the heart of the village, just beyond the fields, stood a flourishing vineyard owned by a man named Cedric. Known for producing the most exquisite communion wine, Cedric had dedicated his life to perfecting his craft. His vineyard stretched across rolling hills, where ripe grapes hung heavy on the vines, glistening in the sunlight. The villagers revered him not only for his wine but also for his generosity and kindness. However, Cedric's life took a dark turn when he discovered an unsettling truth about the cursed edge. A few weeks prior, he had been visited by a troubled farmer who spoke of a once great vineyard ruined by a sword that brought misfortune. Intrigued yet cautious, Cedric began to investigate and learned that the cursed blade had left a trail of despair through many villages, including his own. As shadows loomed over his vineyard and accidents began to occur, his crops wilting despite careful tending and storms damaging his buildings, Cedric felt desperate to cleanse the darkness threatening his livelihood. Hearing whispers of Eldrin's skills as a blacksmith, he sought out the legendary craftsman, hoping that quenching the cursed blade in his special wine could be the key to breaking its sinister hold. With hope flickering in his heart, Cedric prepared to confront a challenge far greater than he had ever imagined. The day of the quenching ritual arrived, and Eldrin prepared with great care, knowing that the moment held immense weight. He set the cursed edge aside from his usual tools, placing it gently on his anvil, a symbol of what he was about to attempt. Cedric stood nearby, a mixture of hope and anxiety etched across his face as he gathered his special communion wine in a large, ornate bowl. The wine was not merely an everyday vintage. It was crafted with love and purpose, embodying the essence of life and community. Eldrin ignited the forge until the fire roared brightly, reaching its peak temperature. He envisioned what each step would mean. The heat would allow the blade to shed its dark energy, while the communion wine, represented as a sacred fluid, would serve as a channel for purification. Carefully, He positioned the sword above the flames, watching as it transformed from dull black to shimmering crimson, revealing hints of its once-hidden spirit. With a steady hand, Eldrin dipped the heated blade into the bowl of communion wine while reciting an ancient incantation passed down through generations. As the wine splashed against the metal, a cloud of steam rose into the air with a hiss, creating an enchanting mist. The villagers believed this process would harness the healing powers embedded within their culture's traditions, allowing redemption for always loaded memories bound to objects like this cursed sword. Eldrin hoped with all his heart that this ritual would restore balance and finally free Cedric from sorrow. As the steam from the communion wine swirled around the workshop, Eldrin suddenly felt a jolt of energy pulse through the air. It was as if the very essence of the cursed edge had awakened, and he heard a chilling whisper echoing in his mind. "I demand retribution," it hissed, its voice like a cold wind slicing through the heat of the forge. The blacksmith's heart raced as he realized that the blade was not merely an object, but a sentient being filled with rage and sorrow. The edge pressed for vengeance against Cedric, insisting that only blood could satisfy its thirst for absolution. "He is the source of my suffering. Let him pay." The urgency in the blade's tone filled the air with tension, and Eldrin felt the weight of its demands pressing heavily upon him. He glanced at Cedric, who stood frozen in fear, eyes wide and breath held tightly in his chest. Eldrin knew that the sword was capable of great destruction, but he also recognized that it was trapped in an endless cycle of anguish. Torn between his duty to help Cedric and the blade's insatiable hunger for revenge, Eldrin's thoughts raced. Could he find a way to appease the blade without sacrificing Cedric? Time seemed to stretch as he grappled with this impossible choice, knowing that his next action could change everything. As the tension in the workshop thickened, Eldrin found himself caught in a storm of conflicting emotions. The cursed edge, filled with a blend of sorrow and fury, insisted on its demand for vengeance against Cedric. "He is the source of my suffering," it hissed insistently, its voice echoing in Eldrin's mind. The blacksmith shivered at its chilling tone. He could sense the blade's pain but also understood that its quest for revenge would bring only more ruin. On the other hand, Cedric stood trembling in dread, his eyes wide with fear and confusion. "Eldrin, please, I've done nothing wrong. I only wish to save my vineyard." His desperation tugged at Eldrin's heartstrings. The vintner was a good man who had devoted his life to nurturing the land and serving his community. Eldrin felt torn. He understood the blade's suffering, the weight of past wielders who had failed it, but he also recognized that feeding hatred would only lead to more despair. "You don't have to seek destruction," he called out to the sword, hoping to reach its buried spirit. "There can be redemption without bloodshed." But the edge only responded with a growl of frustration, demanding what it believed it was owed. Struggling against time and fate, Eldrin realized that he must find a way to appease both the blade and Cedric, to find a solution that broke the cycle of vengeance instead of perpetuating it. Eldrin's heart raced as he stood at the crossroads of a moral dilemma that threatened to shatter his world. The cursed edge loomed before him, its dark energy pulsing like a heartbeat, demanding retribution. Cedric must pay, it hissed, eager for vengeance. The blade's voice clawed at his mind, insistent and cold, reminding him of the countless souls it had consumed in its quest for absolution. Yet, as Cedric trembled in fear, pleading for his life, Eldrin's resolve wavered. The vintner had dedicated himself to his craft and to nurturing the community. He was no villain. "I just want to save my vineyard," Cedric cried, his voice filled with desperation. Eldrin felt the weight of Cedric's words pressing down on him like an anchor. How could he condemn an innocent man to appease the wrath of a cursed blade? With every passing moment, the tension in the workshop thickened, suffocating him. Eldrin's mind raced through the legends he'd learned, stories of redemption and sacrifice. But now they felt distant and unhelpful in this moment of chaos. Could he truly save Cedric without yielding to the blade's demands? As sweat dripped from his brow, he realized that this decision would define him forever. Would he protect an innocent life or give in to the darkness that beckoned? The fate of both men hung precariously in the balance, and time was running out. As the tension peaked, a profound silence fell upon the workshop, broken only by Cedric's shaky breath. Clarity washed over him, and the vintner stepped forward, his expression shifting from fear to determination. "Eldrin," he said, his voice steady and resolute, "perhaps this curse can only be lifted through sacrifice." With a heavy heart, he looked at the cursed edge. "If it demands blood to find peace, then I will offer myself." Cedric's words hung in the air like a prayer, resonating with courage and selflessness. He understood that true redemption often came with a price, and he was prepared to pay it. Eldrin felt a whirlwind of emotions: admiration for Cedric's bravery and dread at the thought of losing a friend. "No. There must be another way," he pleaded, but deep down, he recognized the authenticity in Cedric's resolve. The weight of years spent nurturing his vineyard had forged him into a man willing to protect his community at all costs. "Please," Cedric insisted, a serene acceptance washing over him. "My life has been dedicated to this land and these people. If my sacrifice can free us all from this darkness, then let it be so." In that moment, Eldrin realized that love and sacrifice were powerful forces capable of breaking even the bleakest curses. As Cedric prepared to face the edge of fate, the lines between hope and despair blurred, setting the stage for a final confrontation with destiny. The atmosphere in the workshop crackled with tension as Eldrin stood at the edge of a life-altering decision. The cursed edge pulsed ominously, its dark energy swirling around him, demanding its due. Cedric, resolute and brave, faced the blade with a calm acceptance that unnerved Eldrin. "I'll do it," he declared firmly, his voice echoing in the stillness. But Eldrin's heart thundered in protest. "Cedric, no!" Eldrin shouted, desperation flooding his voice. "You don't have to pay this price. There must be another way." He could feel the weight of Cedric's sacrifice pressing down on him, a weight he wasn't sure he could bear. The blade seemed to sense Eldrin's inner turmoil, its presence growing more menacing as if feeding off his doubt. In that critical moment, Eldrin's gaze shifted between the hopeful eyes of Cedric and the wrathful glare of the cursed edge. He thought of all the lives Cedric had touched through his work, the joy and community he fostered in the village. Could he really condemn such a vital soul to fulfill an insatiable curse? After what felt like an eternity, anguish and determination collided within him. With a fierce resolve, Eldrin finally spoke. "No, I will not let you take him. If there is to be a sacrifice, it will be mine." As he stepped forward to face the cursed blade, the air grew heavy with uncertainty. The moment hung delicately between love and fate, ready to tip in any direction. In an act of unexpected bravery, Eldrin stepped closer to the cursed edge, his heart pounding in his chest. "If you seek a sacrifice, take me instead," he declared, his voice steady despite the fear roiling inside him. The blade's dark energy recoiled for just a moment, as if caught off guard by his audacity. Eldrin could feel the tension in the air shift, a glimmer of hope flickering against the blade's demands for vengeance. As he stood before the cursed edge, Eldrin remembered the stories of old, how love and sacrifice could transform even the darkest of fates. With each breath, he focused on the purity of his intent, hoping to channel that energy toward the sword. "I offer my life, not out of fear, but as a symbol of unity," he said, glancing back at Cedric. "This curse will cease to hold us if we choose to share this bond through love rather than hate." The cursed edge trembled as Eldrin's words resonated within it. Slowly, the demand for blood began to fade, replaced by an echo of longing for connection and release. The dark energy that had once radiated so strongly began to dissipate like mist under the sun, revealing hints of brilliant light trapped within the metal. Cedric watched in awe as the transformation unfolded before him. With a final surge of energy, the blade shattered into fragments, freeing both itself and Eldrin from the curse's grasp. In that defining moment, both men felt an overwhelming sense of relief and redemption, their fates forever intertwined, illuminated by the power of selfless sacrifice. In the aftermath of the cursed edge's shattering, A profound sense of peace enveloped the workshop. Eldrin and Cedric stood side by side, shaken but filled with hope. They glanced at the remnants of the blades scattered across the floor, symbolizing not just the end of a curse, but also the beginning of new possibilities. As they reflected on their journey, they realized that courage and redemption often come from unexpected places. Eldrin had witnessed firsthand how a single act of bravery could change the course of fate, transforming fear into unity. Cedric's willingness to sacrifice himself for the sake of others taught them both that true strength lies in selflessness. The villagers gathered outside, sensing that something extraordinary had occurred. The weight of darkness that had hung over Cedric's vineyard was lifted, and a renewed energy pulsed through the air. Life began to flourish again around them, a reminder that forgiveness and healing can sprout even from the harshest trials. Together, Eldrin and Cedric vowed to share their story, imparting lessons about love, sacrifice, and the choices that shape our paths. They understood that every choice they made would echo through their lives and their community. In this newfound clarity, they embraced a future filled with hope, knowing they had faced darkness and emerged stronger together.